Are you ready for some tea? Some wedding tea? Well, welcome to my YouTube channel. It's Desiree here, and I'm so excited to see you. Allow me to sit this down. So yes, I am back with one of my ridiculous wedding stories. And this one I think we will call, too many wedding guests. Yeah, too many guests. We'll drop the wedding. So yes, I've got a doozy for you today. All right. So allow me to give you a little bit of background regarding this couple. Their wedding was taking place in December. Yeah, December in Chicagoland. And if you've ever been here or are familiar, it's cold, it is very windy, and a lot of the times it's snowing. Okay, so imagine a December wedding for around 150 guests in a far suburb. All right, a Chicagoland suburb. And the ceremony was taking place at a church, and the reception was taking place at a banquet location, I'd say about 20 minutes from the church location, all right? The couple was planning about 150 guests, and they had hired for planning as well as coordination, all right, from our team. The couple, very nice couple, very happy couple. We had been in their lives for about a little under a year for the planning process, all right? So I really got to know them. So let's just go ahead and jump into this story. All the planning had pretty much gone fairly smoothly until we got to that point of now it's time to invite these wedding guests to the wedding, all right? Meaning the invitation process. So at the time, I offered several different varieties of wedding invitations to my couples, all right? And this couple in particular decided that they wanted to go with one of my styles of invitations. Wonderful, not a problem, right? I asked them, as I do with all of the couples that have worked with us through the invitation process, make sure, all right, you have addresses and number of people within that household who are invited to the wedding. Ask the bride. Fill out the spreadsheet, one that I had provided to her. Give me the names, the addresses, guest count, all of that, all right? This was a project for her to do, her and her fiance to do. So when it came to the date to order the wedding invitations, she hadn't given me the spreadsheet. I said, hey, I need the spreadsheet. How many are we ordering? And from this company in particular that I sourced, we had to order invitations in increments of 25, okay? Meaning 25, 50, 75, 100, et cetera, et cetera. I asked the bride, because I did not have the spreadsheet with the actual guest count, how many invitations should I order? She told me 200. I says, okay. And so I'm with a guest count or invitation order of 200. I have to assume that you have some households as well as some individuals, some single individuals who will be receiving an invitation who are most likely not allowed to bring a guest if you're having 200 that are going to be mailed out. Because as I told you early on, there were going to be 150 guests at this wedding. She told me, just order 200. We'll get the list together. Don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. Now, the couple had not hired the DE team to prepare and mail off those wedding invitations. She just hired us or hired my company to purchase the invitations for her through one of my affiliates, all right? Remember that. I go ahead with the process. I order the 200 invitations for her. She pays for 200 invitations, all right? I meet up with her, let's say about a month or so after they had been ordered and I'd received them. I met up with her to give her the 200 invitations. I still do not have the spreadsheet with the guest information and the guest count, all right? I've been asking her. She's like, I'm working on it. I'm going to be fine. I says, hey, we got a deadline when these invitations need to be in the mail. Are you good? She's like, yeah, I'm cool, Desiree. No problem. I move on with the planning process. We continue moving through the steps. We're starting to work on the timeline, all of these things. And one night, I will never forget this night. I had a wedding, all right? And when I come back home that night, I had an email from this bride, and she was pissed. So she's mad because her guest count now is over the 150 that they wanted to pay for at the venue. And I'm like, sis, how you mad at me? I gave you 200 invitations per your request. Nowhere. My hands did not touch 200 invitations. I did not take 200 invitations to the post office and drop them in the mailbox. I didn't do that. I gave you 200. You told me that you would finish the spreadsheet and mail those off because, again, you had not hired my company to do so. So now you big mad because your guest count is now over 150. So I says, hey, pretty much in what I'm sharing with you all, I pretty much told her this, all right? But of course, being a little nicer than I'm sounding right here. And I had my daddy proofread it before I sent it off to her because I'm not gonna lie, I was a little perturbed, all right? It's midnight, you sending me this crazy email about you're mad at me because you mailed off 200 invitations, et cetera, et cetera. I told her, I says, hey, if you got over 150 something guests, we're either one, going to need to increase the count with the venue. And the good thing about this venue, they could hold more than 150. Okay. So you're going to either increase the guests to the RSVPs that you have here, or you are going to call some people and say, hey, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to accommodate you at this wedding. I'm sure she wasn't going to take that one. So she ultimately decided to increase the guest count. Did I get an apology for this nasty email she sent to me? No, but I will say it did change the dynamics of our relationship. But me remaining professional, I kept it cute. I kept it classy throughout the remaining portion of the wedding planning process. All right. So we come to the final walkthrough in which now I'm seeing her again after she had just told me off about the wedding invitations. And I says, hey, you good? How's everything going? She's like, oh yeah, we're fine. So we're walking through the venue. We're going through the timeline, making sure everything is going to go as planned. And she alerted me to something, that her and her fiance had not got the wedding license yet. I'm like, okay, well, it's 3 weeks out before your wedding. This is something I need you to do. The DE team always sends their couples at least 50 to 60 days before their wedding an email that says, hey, it's time for you to get your marriage license, blah, blah, blah. She hadn't done it yet. I asked her, when are you and him going to go ahead and get this marriage license? She said to me, next week, which would have been 2 weeks before the actual wedding. Prior to the wedding rehearsal, I always send my couples an email to remind them to bring the wedding inventory to the rehearsal so that we can capture all of that information, make sure we check things off of our checklist so we know what to set up on wedding day. And then in particular, I asked her to bring the marriage license because the officiant wanted to have it since he was going to be present at the rehearsal. All right. She replied back that all was well. She was good. She'd have these things for me. All right. Wedding rehearsal day. Now listen, it was a snowstorm. It was a doozy trying to get to this church. No lie, on God. It was crazy trying to drive to this church. That's how much snow was coming down. All right. So everyone eventually arrives to the church for the rehearsal. Yeah, most of them were pretty tardy, to be honest with you. And here comes our very tardy couple. All right. And the bride has got a major attitude. Like I'm the one who produced the snow from the sky and it came down and just covered all of the land here. I did it. She was already mad. I'm like, okay, let's just go ahead and get started with rehearsal. I was not irritated by any means. Like I said, it was crazy for me to drive there. So I know that the guests the wedding party that was attending the wedding rehearsal also were probably going to have some challenges. Anyway, we're here. I'm trying to calm her down. Don't worry about it. Don't stress. Let's just get going because our officiant needs to be somewhere else. So right before we're about to start the rehearsal, I asked her, hey, you've got the marriage license. Go ahead and give that to me so that I can give that to him, or you can give it directly to him, whatever's easiest for you, just because I know he needs to leave very quickly after the conclusion of the rehearsal. She says, no problem. She told her fiance to get the marriage license and that they would give it to him directly. All right. We move on with the wedding rehearsal, blah, blah, blah. All is well. She kind of has a smile on the face. The groom is looking like grooms do. They're just listening. And the wedding party seems to have a pretty cool demeanor during this time. Wedding rehearsal concludes. Minister leaves very quickly. All right. Before departing, I says, hey, Did you give the minister the marriage license? All right. She says, oh my God, we forgot. I was like, all right, no problem, but I need this marriage license on site tomorrow. So please do not forget to bring it. Needless to say, me and the team make it to our designated locations. Me, an assistant over at the church, and the other coordinator was over at the reception venue dealing with the items that I had dropped off prior to arriving at the church. All right. We are now at the church, and the bride is here with her bridesmaids. They're doing hair and makeup, all of those things. The groom should be arriving in a couple hours with his groomsmen, and the wedding should start on time. I will say I was going to plan for a 30-minute buffer just simply because I already knew that people had to come quite a distance to get to this church. Again, we are in a far suburb in the Chicagoland area, and I knew that it could possibly be challenging due to the snowstorm that we had the night prior. So I was planning for us to potentially have to start about 30 minutes late, but I had worked that within the timeline. All right. I get to the church, me and the assistant, we're setting things up. I go check on the bride, all is well with the world. And then light bulb. Oh my God, I need to get the marriage license from her. So I go to her. I says, hey, where's the marriage license? Go ahead and give that to me now because you're going to be getting dressed soon. I don't want to interrupt, all those things. She's like, oh my God, I forgot it at home. Tune in next time for some more wedding tea.